Okay. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you heard, my name is Peter Vodenka. I am going to be telling you a story of escaping from communist Czechoslovakia and coming to America as a first generation of Americans. And as I am, can everybody hear me okay? Can everybody understand me? It's kind of a funny story about that. You know, when we came to America, we were sponsored by a church in town of Beach in North Dakota. I don't know why is it called Beach, because there is no water anywhere. But, and when we arrived in Beach, this was 1983. When we arrived there, we have $600 in the pocket, 2 little children, clothes on our backs, and we didn't speak any English. And as we were living our life over there, we were communicating with the people and starting to learn the English. And in about 2 years, I thought I speak very well English. I was proud of myself. Believe it or not, I didn't know I have any foreign accent. Because when I am talking to you right now, I don't hear my accent. To me, I sound just like you do. Actually, I understand every word I say, you know, but it's not until I'm video recorded or tape recorded when I can hear myself from outside and I go, wow, you know, this is worse than I thought. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, Americans are very friendly people. And, you know, people with my accent, you know, anywhere you go, people stop you, and my wife then go and say, hey, you have foreign accent, where are you from? And after 20 years or so, you get tired of it. You don't want to explain all the time. It's annoying. And so we were living in Minnesota at the time, close to the Wisconsin border. So anytime somebody go, hey, where are you from? You have foreign accent. I told them, oh, I'm from Wisconsin. And, some other smart, elegant answers also. I was born in communist country of Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia is a small country in the middle of Europe. We had the borders with the East Germany. I think this actually absorbed. Yeah, I cannot point on this. We have borders with East Germany, Poland, Russia, Hungary, and Austria. Also the West Germany. But those first countries, they were communist countries. They were behind the Iron Curtain. They were living under dictatorship just like we did. Those two other countries, Austria and the West Germany, they were outside the Iron Curtain. And since I was 17 years old, I was praying and wishing and dreaming and hoping that I want to go to America. I knew that people in America have the freedoms, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of political beliefs. Those are the big freedoms which we all understand them, talk about them, and know we have them. But there is so many other freedoms over here in America which we don't even recognize as freedoms. People in America can wear the clothes they want. People in America can travel anywhere they want. People in America can have the cars which they desire, which they want. People in America can get the jobs which they want. People in America can move from place to place. We didn't have any of those freedoms. You know, to give you an example, the Czechoslovakia at the time, it's not Czechoslovakia anymore, it's two countries, Czech Republic and Slovakia. They split after the Iron Curtain came down. But at the time, Czechoslovakia is about the size of South Dakota. But there is 15 million people population. South Dakota has 800. State of Wyoming is 4 times the South Dakota, and we have about 500 people population. So the Europe is a lot more congested than, you know, here in America. And of those 15 million people in my country, only about 1 million were members of Communist Party. But that was only party, because the minute they got to the power illegally, of course, and I will go into that a little bit later, they outlawed the other political party. It was illegal to belong to any other political party. You could end up in gulags or be executed, which happened actually to people. So of those 15 million people, so you were either member of Communist Party or you were no member of anything. And of those 15 million people, they were controlling our lives. They were telling us what we can do, what we can say, where we can work, where we can go. Pretty much every aspect of our life was controlled by communists. For example, education. You know, after I finished the grade school, I have to go into either directly to the factory or someplace to work, or I can go to the trade. I can become electrician, plumber, auto mechanic, cook, and such job. I could not get any higher education because my parents were not members of Communist Party, and education was reserved for the children from trusted Communist families. I couldn't become teacher. I couldn't become doctor. I couldn't become, any of those levels above the pretty much tradesmen. So since I was 17 years old, I have strong desire for freedom. And I want to go to America. But in order for me to come to America, I have to escape illegally. I have to make it either into Austria or the West Germany. Now, our government knew of these possibilities, so they closed the border, that green line, and they closed the border between us and the two countries and make it pretty much impenetrable. There were many different fences over there. This picture is kind of remains of what's left of Iron Curtain. It looked a lot worse than that. There were many borders and many different obstacles to get to the border itself. If you reach the final border, there was electric wire with 30,000 volt electricities in it. So if you touch it, you died. But that wasn't enough. So communists cleared the land all the way around that border and erected the watchtowers. And they were soldiers with machine guns, and they could see the land between them and the next tower. And they have orders to shoot anybody who is there. But that still wasn't enough. So they have the foot soldiers patrolling back and forth the border itself, because many times with the dogs, because many times the dog can smell more than people can see. But that still wasn't enough. So they were fortifying it more and more and more until it became what we know over here as the Iron Curtain. We used to call it border zone. This is an example of border zone between the West Germany and East Germany. This dark line at the bottom, that's the border itself. On the East German side, you can see there is 3 miles wide section of the land, 3 miles wide. And this is full of the booby traps, mines, soldiers, fences, spotlights, white sand, anything you can imagine to stop people from crossing over here and reach the border itself. And that was clearly posted. There were big signs saying, this is a border zone, do not enter, you will be shot. So you could be shot or arrested 3 miles inside your own country before you actually reach the actual border. I know I cannot go that way. I didn't want to die, or I didn't want to be arrested and go to communist prison. But I know there is the way. Anytime is the will, there is the way. I know there is going to be a way. I just need to find it. It took me 10 years to keep my eyes and ears open, listening, watching, educating myself, putting the puzzle together in my own head. Nobody can know what I'm even thinking about, because just for thinking that, you could be persecuted, you can be executed or go to gulags. Nobody can know what I'm thinking. And after 10 years, I thought I know how to get out. Only difference was by then I was married. I have a 4-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son. So now I have to take my family across, it's not myself anymore. And what I find out that communist country of Yugoslavia, which was also part of communist bloc, but their president, World War II General Marshal Tito, who became the president of Yugoslavia after war, and he was the communist, but he didn't succumb to Russians as much as the rest of us did, because Russia was our big boss, big controller. Yes, he was communist, but he kept for his people a little bit more freedom than the rest of those countries did. And one thing which I learned, that border between Yugoslavia and the Austria to the north, or Yugoslavia and the Italy to the west, wasn't as tight as our borders. Yes, there's supposed to be fences there too, but I learned or heard that there are sections of the land which do not even have fences, in the rugged areas, along the swamps and rivers, mountains. Just border guards patrolling it back on the foot, but there's supposed to be no fences in certain segments. So I'm thinking that we're gonna try to go to Yugoslavia as if we go for vacation, and then try to sneak across the border from Yugoslavia to Austria. This is the summer of 1983. Now, in order for us to go to Yugoslavia, we have to apply with our government. We have to fill up the application that we says we would like to go to Yugoslavia for camping vacation for the 2 weeks in summer of 1983. Now, our application have to be approved by government. And what I mean by government, I mean secret police. Common is the major body of control which were keeping us citizens in the check. That was regular police, military people, and the secret police. Regular police and military people, they wore the uniform. We can recognize them. We know who they are. Secret police didn't. That was the baddest and scariest body of control. We always know that somebody's listening. We can sense them. We know somebody's watching us. We just don't know who these people are. And they have informants throughout the population. They have people who were actually not members of secret police, but they were working for him on the side. They have a regular job. It could be your neighbor. It could be your brother. It could be somebody in the family. And they were watching everybody around them. And if somebody started doing something unusual, slightly unusual, they would inform on you to secret police, and now you become watched even closer. So the secret police was the first organizations which have to approve our paperwork to go to Yugoslavia. And they did. They approved it. But then they sent it over to my employer, the local police, local government, county government, and the military. All these institutions have to say that they don't know anything of me or my wife doing something unusual, to actually say that, yeah, we don't know, these people are probably safe. So we were approved to go. Now, my wife and I are only two people who know why we're going over there. We are not going over there camping. We are going over there with the hope that we're going to escape. And like I said, nobody can know what we are even thinking about. 3 days before our departure, we went to visit our families, parents, brothers and sisters, and we told them we are going on vacation. That was very emotional for us because we knew we might never see them again if we actually make it across the border. And we have to keep our emotions under control. We didn't want them to sense anything or know anything at all. As a matter of fact, we didn't even tell them we're going to Yugoslavia. We told them we are going for vacation to Hungary at the Lake Balaton, which was kind of a big tourist place. And the reason why we give them this information, we knew if we do make it across that border, they will be interrogated by secret police. And if secret police find out they knew in any slight way about our plans, they would end up in Gulag themselves. So we give them this information, hoping that way they will not need to be lying under the interrogations, because if they knew we are going to Yugoslavia, they would have to lie and say, we didn't know, and it's easy to break down and tell on yourself under pressure. So we told them, so all what they know is that we're going to Hungary to Lake Balaton. So 3 days later, we got into our small Eastern European car, and we are driving towards the border. And we are scared, because first border we have to cross from Czechoslovakia to Hungary. And of course, you're doing something which is highly illegal, and you kind of feel that everybody can read it on your face. And we were worried, because they could stop us anytime. They could say, hey, we changed our mind, you're not going anywhere. They can search our car and find the things which actually we were not allowed to have. I have more money than we were allowed. You see, in order to go to Yugoslavia, we have to exchange our money from Czech money to Yugoslavian money. And that was done only in one central bank in Prague. And you have to have all your paperwork in the line for them to change that money. But they give you only so much. I guess they know we have to have money for camping and food and gasoline. And that was all what they calculated we can have. You know, they don't want you to have too much fun, I guess. But no, I want to have more money because I didn't know what's going to happen. You know, maybe what's going to happen. I'm feeling that we need more money. Maybe our extension is going to extend from 2 weeks to more time. Another thing which we have in our car, we have personal documents. We have our marriage license. We have our birth certificates. and some other stuff. And the reason why I want to have that with me, I knew if we do make it alive, eventually we will be applying for the United States of America. And I figured out if we have all these documents in line, we might get better chance to be accepted. We brought including the vaccination records also. You don't bring that stuff on vacation with you. You keep that at safe place at home. So if it was found in our car, that itself would be that giveaway that we are trying to escape. And if they found it, that's it. We will go to the prison right there, because first, we're breaking the law with the money, because we have more money than we are allowed, and second, we are taking those paperwork with us. So we were scared that our car is gonna get searched, but we were just praying to God for not to search our car. And when we arrived at that border, kids were little, and they were tired, and they fell asleep. And we stopped, they woke up, and they started crying. And it was a good thing this time, because the border guard didn't want to deal with the screaming kids on the back seat, so he stamped our passport and sent us through. Then, of course, we have to go through a Hungarian checkpoint, which was no problem. And in the evening, we arrived at the lake of Balatan and camped overnight. And next morning, day number 2, we continuing into Yugoslavia. We were afraid of Hungarian-Yugoslavian border, still communist on both sides. We were hoping that same situation with crying kids is going to repeat. It didn't, but we crossed that border with no problem. And in the evening, we arrived at the town of Rijeka, which is on Adriatic Sea. Now, that was our official destination. So that was the day number 2. Day number 3, we start traveling back north, start coming to Austrian border. And again, like I says, I am planning and educating myself for 10 years. And I thought I have few ideas how we can try to cross that border. We did it, it didn't work out. I'm not gonna go into all the details. But we have to come with different plan. So I was thinking that I knew there is about 5 roads crossing the border from Yugoslavia to Austria. They were, of course, one directional. Austrian citizens could go to Yugoslavia as they please, because Austrian government didn't stop them. Yugoslavian government, on the other hand, wouldn't allow the citizens go into Austria. And again, collecting the information, I thought I know the farthest border to the east, the section of the border when a road crosses it, and the Hungarian border is about 1 mile wide. And that did not supposed to have any fences, just the border guards patrolling it back and forth on the foot. So I'm thinking we're gonna time it so we arrive at this border at 2 o'clock in the morning. We're gonna leave the car somewhere out of sight. We're gonna sneak across the border quietly on the foot, and then we're gonna circle back to the same road, hopefully in the Austria, and continue on the foot. And the reason why I wanna be there for 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm thinking that's our best chance. Hopefully everybody's tired and sleepy. We have probably the best chance to make it across. And as we're driving towards the border, it's 4 o'clock afternoon, and we are already only 40 miles away. And I don't wanna come any closer in the daylight. I'm afraid of regular Yugoslavian police patrolling the roads. And if they see the East European car with East European license plate, they're gonna stop us, start asking questions, possibly even arrest us. Because again, this is hard to understand. Here in America, we can go anywhere we want. But we are not allowed to be anywhere we want. We are allowed to be shortest way from our home to our destination. Just by being in the neighborhood of that border, we will become suspicious. So we are looking for the place to hide. And as we're driving, suddenly there is grass, big grassy meadow on the right side, and there is 2 tracks leading across the grass into the patch of the woods in the distance. So I exit, and I drove across the grass. And we drove into the woods. And it turned out to be perfect hiding place. There was grassy opening in the middle. There was tall trees and thick underbrush all the way around us. So when we were over here, we were not seen. So this is the place we're gonna wait until 1 o'clock in the morning to leave. So we arrived at that border approximately by 2. And of course, kids were, kids have lots of energy, and they were cooped up in the car for 4 days now. And all what they wanna do is to run around and play and be noisy. And we were afraid to let them make too much noise, because first, we are in foreign country. We speak in different language than anybody else. That itself catches people's attention. And second, we don't want somebody to hear the kids playing and screaming in the woods, and come over there, investigate what's going on, and find us. So we kept them quiet as much as we could. And the evening was coming on. My wife cooked some dinner. We ate, and it was time to put kids to the bed. We decided to put them on the back seat of the car, fully dressed, only take their shoes off. And again, once again, I am thinking about every scenario, every detail, every situation which can happen. And I'm thinking we're gonna wake those kids up at 2 o'clock in the morning and drag them out from that warm bed, and they're gonna start crying. But we cannot have it this time, because there are gonna be Yugoslavian soldiers. We cannot be hurt. But how do you explain what you're planning to do with 2 and 4-year-old child? So I sit down with them. I says, I need you to listen to me. We're gonna put you to the bed on the back seat of the car like the night before. And while you are sleeping, your mom and I are gonna be driving. And in the middle of the night, we will stop the car. We will wake you up, and we have to leave the car and walk away on the foot. You will be very tired, you will be very sleepy, and you will want to cry. But you cannot cry this time, because there might be some bad people over there. And if they hear us, we can get into trouble. I was afraid to scare them too much with the bad people, because that might would make them cry when they wake up in the middle of the night and there are bad people in the darkness around. So we put them to bed, and my wife and I are sitting on the front seat of the car. We are trying to hoping to sleep, to kill the time somehow. But we couldn't. This is the night. I'm planning for this at 10 o'clock in the morning, and this is the night. Anything can happen that night. And again, I am going through every detail, every scenario once again. So if some situation happen, we are prepared for it, and we know how to deal with it ahead of the time. And as we're sitting in this car, I want to get going, because what kills you is when you're sitting there doing nothing. You think too much, you're scaring yourself, you're putting very bad thought in your own head. And I want to keep going, I want to get going. And I'm looking at my watch probably every 15 seconds, because it seems anytime I look at it, it was same place it was before. I am putting it to my ear, listening if my watch is still ticking. And again, as I'm thinking about everything else what can happen, there is something I need to talk to my wife. This subject was in my head for about 3 months now, but I never find the right time, right moment, right words to tell her what I need to tell her now. I am running out of time. I need to tell her before we arrive at that border. And I says, listen, I know you are scared, and I don't want to scare you even more. But there is one thing we need to be prepared for. One of us might get shot tonight. Or make a break leg, fall down, break leg, or just simply fall down. I told her if anything like that happen, that other one has to keep on going. Because if we get caught altogether, that's it. That's the end of everything. We knew that our government have automatic 10-year prison sentence for both parents, and because we would become political criminals, we would be serving it in the uranium mines. That's where political criminals were. Not too many came out of that prison. And that's how communists prefer it. So I told her, and they would take our children away, because obviously by our action, trying to bring them to different country to have better life, we proved to them that we are not fit parents to raise the children we were not raising them in proper socialistic, communistic ideology. So the government would brainwash them. They would raise them in government institutions. So I told my wife, if I go down, I don't want you to stop. I don't want you to check on me. I don't want you to try to help me off the ground. You have to keep on going. If at least one of us make it across that border, there is chance that maybe we can get the rest of the family there through International Red Cross, maybe some religious organization, maybe Austrian government, but there is still chance. But if we get caught all together, that's it. That's the end of everything. And on the other hand, I need you to understand that if you go down, that's what I'm doing. I'm not leaving you behind because I don't love you. I'm not leaving you behind because I don't want you. But that's our only chance. So now, of course, she has even more bad thought in her head than she did before. So now she's scared even more. And again, as we're sitting, before we sit in that car, we were thinking what we're gonna bring with. Until this moment, we were hoping that maybe we're gonna make it across that border with our car. And therefore, we're gonna have wheels for the transportation. We will have our clothes, camping gear, food. At this time, we decided we're not gonna even try. But we need to bring something with us. But what are we gonna bring? We're gonna have one hand each, because I will be carrying our boy in my hand, and she's gonna be holding our 4-year-old other hand. So there is very limited amount what we can take. So we decided we're gonna take a bag which have good solid shoulder strap on it, so it was easy to carry, and we're gonna fill it with the kids' clothes, because children are little. We need the spare clothes for them. Then we decided, you can see this is not really big luggage compared to the size of my hand, but this was our biggest and most important luggage. Then we decided to take one of our sleeping bags, which has the good case with the handle on it, so it was easy to carry it. And the reason why we decided for sleeping bag, we didn't know what's gonna happen if we make it across that border. We might be hiding during the day, traveling at night, who knows? I felt that we need something more for the children. So my wife was gonna carry that. And then she have another bag, which is our camera in it, small personal document, the extra money and those documents and small precious stuff. But we are thinking we need to bring something for ourselves also. We need to bring spare clothes for ourselves, but we have no more free hands to carry anything. You know, try to go on vacation to Mexico or just to Florida and bring nothing. Not even toothbrush. Not even spare clothes, nothing. And we were gonna be there for who knows when and where, who knows where we're gonna be. So I was thinking about that hard, and I came with this idea. We're gonna put on everything double. From the socks, underwear, pants and shirts. That way we can carry the spare clothes on our bodies without the occupying our hands. And again, like I said, we are leaving everything. We already left everything what we work for in our apartment, and now we're gonna walk away from our car and everything what's in it. And you know, in America, again, this is not really end of the world. But over there, it was almost impossible to come to anything, because government keeps us, the citizens, on very low poverty level. Everybody is equally poor. Just to give you an idea, the 1 kilogram of beef in the store, if it was in the store, because most of the time it wasn't, but if it was in the store, it cost, 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. It cost as much money as I made for 8-hour day labor. So after I was working for 8-hour day, I had enough money to go to the store and buy 2.2 pounds of beef. Gasoline, 1 gallon is about 4 liters of gasoline. I could buy 4 liters for 4 hours of labor. So imagine, I don't know what's the average wage in America, $15 an hour maybe. Let's say $15 an hour. Imagine that 1 gasoline would cost $60. That's how expensive everything was, and we are walking away from everything with the hope that we're gonna make our life better. And again, as we're sitting in this car and waiting for that 1 o'clock in the morning, it stopped raining. It was raining on and off pretty much for 2 days. The rain stopped, but the mist started rising. And it was getting denser and denser and denser. And thinking, this is gonna take longer for us to drive through this fog. We don't know where we are. We have to follow the map in the middle of the night. And I didn't want to arrive at the border too late when it's already daylight, or get lost and arrive somewhere else. So it was 12:30. I'm thinking we need to give ours a little bit more time. It's 12:30. I told my wife, let's do it. Let's go. So I started the car, drove out of the woods, across the grass. We turned on the road, and now we are on the way. We're going north towards the border. And tension in the car eased up a lot because now we are busy doing something. I'm driving the car. My wife had a flashlight and map on her lap, and she's checking every intersection, every exit, every village and town we're driving through, making sure we are on the right road. And as we're traveling north, it started drizzling again, but it knocked the fog down so visibility improved. But the rain is picking on more and more and more. And we're driving for some time, and suddenly the road turns 90 degrees, and we're going parallel to the border. And we saw the turn on the map, so we know this is still the right road, but we also know that we have to exit to the left, eventually start coming closer to the Austrian border again. And after some time, there is signs on the side showing Austria. So we exit. Now we are coming closer to the border again. And we start judging the distance from our map about how close we are to the border. And we think we have about 8 miles to go. And suddenly the road turned sharp left, half circle around some obstacles in front of us. And when we came on the other side, there it was. There was border. There is gate across the road. There is street light, and there is soldier with AK-47 on his chest. And we were not prepared for it. We thought we have another 8 miles to go. I wasn't planning to come close enough so they can see us. I thought I'm gonna leave car somewhere and they don't even know there. And now I start the car, we are sitting in this guy's full view. So I put the car in the reverse and I back up around those turns, disappear from his sight, and park the car somewhere off the road. And I told my wife, stay over here, I'm gonna go back there on the foot and I'm gonna see what I can see. So she locks the door behind me and I'm coming back on the foot. And rain is just pouring down now, because as we are coming closer, the rain is picking car more and more and more. And as I'm walking over at probably 2 o'clock in the morning, I can hear my own footsteps on the blacktop. I didn't want him to hear me coming, so I jump in the ditch. I'm sneaking through grass and bushes. I'm coming closer. I'm coming closer. And I got as close as I dare. I squat down. I'm looking at the situation in front of me. I know he is standing in the circle of the light. He cannot see me as far as I stay out of the circle. And my heart, of course, is racing in my chest. I see this enemy, big enemy, government person, with the AK-47 on his chest. And as I'm looking at the situation in front of me, what I see is the road behind that soldier, behind that gate, enters the forest. And through the trees in the distance, I can see another light. I assume that's Austrian guardhouse. And on the right side, there was a small building with the lights in the windows, but I could actually hear people talking over there, voices talking. So I know there's minimum 2 more soldiers inside that building. And in front of that building was a small car with the border guards marking on the door. And on the right side was dirt road, disappearing into the fields and out of the circle of the light. And as I'm sitting over there, my heart is racing in my chest. Rain is just pouring down. I am looking at this guy, I'm looking at this situation, and I realize this is it. For 10 years, I lived my life this direction. For 10 years, I was praying for this to happen. For 10 years, I thought, hope that one day I'm gonna be somewhere at the border, I'm gonna cross it into the freedom. And I don't know what to do. I know I cannot take my family and make it run, and this guy, he's gonna shoot us. I don't know what to do. So I start praying to God once again. I am asking Him for our protection, to show me the way, to tell me what to do next. And as I'm doing it, like as my heart is racing in my chest, you have pressure in your head, and everything seems to be in the fog. And I'm forcing myself to start thinking again. I'm physically telling myself, think again, snap out of it, think what can happen, plan. And as I'm thinking what can happen, I realize that within the hour, inside of next hour, one of the three scenarios is gonna happen. Either we're gonna be laying on the ground, bleeding from the gunshots, or we're gonna be in the handcuffs and starting that dreadful way back home and future in the shackles, or we will be free. I didn't know which one of those situations is gonna happen, but every one of them is gonna change our life forever. I keep saying that we live two lives, and that was the precise moment when our first life was ending. And the new life was about to begin. And with any one of those three scenarios, our life is gonna go totally different direction. Nothing will be same ever again. There was another thing I could have done. I could give up. I could go back to my wife, to car, say, hey, it's too dangerous. I don't know how to get around this guy. We don't wanna die. We could go back to the sea, spend 2 weeks as vacation, and then go back home as if nothing happened. We're just coming back from vacation. That thought never crossed my mind, luckily, because unknown to us at this moment, the secret police back home already found out of our plans, and they were already hunting for us. They were hoping that we didn't cross the border yet from Czech to Hungary. They were already hunting for us. So had I made the decision and we come back 2 weeks later as nothing happened, we would be immediately arrested and our kids would be ripped away from us. And we would never see them or each other ever again. I still have nightmares about this situation, tell you the truth. That we came over there and some really mean secret policeman is ripping our kids away from us and hauling them away 4 and 2 years old from their parents, screaming and crying. I walked back to my car. I told my wife, this is it, let's do it. We woke the kids up, put the shoes on them. I remind them about crying. They were confused, dizzy from the sleep, but they were not crying. I started the car and drove to get them back on the road. Only this time we know what's waiting around the corner. And when we came around this turn, now we are driving directly towards to this guy with that AK-47 on his chest. And my heart is just racing in my chest. You know, I'm expecting him to swing the rifle down and start shooting at us at any moment. You gotta understand, we were living in police country. As crazy as it sounds, we were not afraid of criminals. We were scared of police. Just the sight of the man in the uniform or police car on the street raise your heartbeat and tie your stomach in the knots. And now we are driving towards to this guy who I know have orders to stop people like us for any means. And I'm telling myself, stay calm, stay calm. He's looking into my headlights right now. He cannot see the model or the license plate of the car yet. And we are coming closer and closer, and in the last minute I turned the dirt road. And now we are slipping and sliding in the darkness and driving into the fields. And I was thinking, they already know we are here. Our cover is already blown. So I'm gonna try to drive on that road for some time, stop the car, hustle to the left, and hopefully we're gonna cross that border before anybody realizes what's going on. And as we are sliding and slipping on the dirt road, I see on the left side something growing in the field that's about chest high. And I'm thinking, this is gonna be really hard to wade through it. I mean, it's raining for 2 days. I'm thinking it's gonna be really muddy. Plus whatever is growing over there is taller than our daughter's head, who is gonna be on the foot. So I'm driving a little bit farther and a little bit farther, hoping something's gonna change. And now I would like you to follow and to see the God's hand in everything what was happening. And it did. That field stopped. A new field started. Something was just sprouting out of the ground. But there was about 10 feet wide strip between those two fields, which was solid grassy strip. I'm thinking that's gonna be, solid enough for us to walk on it. So I stopped the car. We jump off the car, we open the back door, we grab the kids, we grab the suitcase or whatever, we have the stuff, bags, and we start walking on this grassy strip, which we cannot see because this was the darkest pitch black night you can imagine. We cannot see, but I can feel it with my feet. And with all my planning and preparation and thinking about every detail and every situation which can happen, I never thought about the dome light. When you open the door, the light goes on automatically. And they were watching. They see the car driving into the fields. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And when we opened the door, they must have seen us taking care of bags and kids. And I figure out that we're going to make a run for the border. We make about 10 steps away from that car. And that lit up guardhouse behind us just exploded with activities. The car engine roars. The car is slipping and sliding, coming our direction. The dogs start barking. We see somebody's carrying the spotlights and moving across. I'm assuming this guy is running along the border. He's trying to cut us off. So I look behind me in the darkness when my wife, I was hoping was, and I hoarsely whisper, run as fast as we can, as you can. Because our only chance right now was to cross that border before they come close enough to see us or arrest us. And we took off running. And first I'm running with everything I got, but I'm thinking, I am forcing myself to slow down because I'm thinking I cannot run faster than my wife and my 4-year-old daughter. I don't want to run away from them. I didn't want us to get separated now and lost. And as we're running on this grassy strip, with every step, with every breath, with every cell in my body, I am praying and hoping and wishing for the woods. Because when I was looking at the gate earlier, I saw the woods behind the gate. I'm thinking if we make it to the woods, we're going to be across the border. And in the meantime, the car stopped behind our car, and now is 2 spotlights on our trail. And they know exactly where we are because of location of our car and the grassy strip. But luckily for us, they couldn't see us at this time because that rain is coming down in the sheets now. And that rain was blocking those spotlights to reach our bodies. You know how it is when you're driving at night with heavy rain. And as we're running, suddenly there is no ground under my feet. And I'm falling head first, and we landed in the water. I stood up. Luckily, water was only knee deep. I picked my son up. He wasn't crying. I pick him up. I can feel the bag next to me, which fell off my shoulder. I pick it up. I wade through water, and I can feel that there is hill on the other side. And I'm going up this wet, slippery, soggy hill as fast as I can, listening to my sound of my wife and my daughter behind. And I am hearing no splashes. I'm thinking she heard me splashing down below, and she's afraid to get in the water. So I'm hoarsely whispering in the darkness behind me, get in the water. There is water here, but don't worry about that. It's only knee deep. They are coming. Get in the water. They were closing in, of course, because they didn't carry little children. So they could run a lot faster than we can. And we got on the other side of the water. We get on top of this hill. And a little bit farther, probably like from me to this wall, and there is woods. And we bolted in the woods. But it's pitch black night, so I cannot see anything. And I'm carrying my boy, and I didn't want to run into a tree trunk with his face and my face. But I don't know how to see. I'm looking up in the skies, because skies is always lighter. If I can see and navigate around the trees. Pitch black night, no shadows, no nothing. So anytime something's holding me back, I'm breaking through it with my chest because I don't know how to run around it. Branches, brush, anything was holding me back. I'm just breaking through it. At one time, my son started crying in my hand. I said, remember, this is what I was telling you yesterday. You cannot cry. You cannot cry right now. Stop crying. And he stopped immediately. It wasn't until daylight came next day when we saw that he had a pretty good scratch on his face. This was after it was all clean It went across his nose, through his cheek, into his ear, and he actually had dry blood all the way down to the collar of his shirt. When we saw it first time, we thought it actually shot at us. He got grazed by the bullet because it was just a bloody mess. That was probably when he started crying. He got hit and cut in the face with some branch. And when I told him, you cannot cry right now, he stopped, 2-year-old. Just a little bit older than baby. I could not even imagine what could be going through those little kids' heads. Being woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, dragged out from the warm car into the downpour, running through the night, being chased through the night, then falling in the darkness and landed in the water. And then they get hit and cut in the face. And stop, and I told him, this is what I was telling you, I'm gonna cry. At that moment, still on the run, I looked behind me because I was hoping we are across the border, but I don't know for sure. And first, I don't know if that was the border or not, and second, I don't know if they are gonna stop. So on the run, I am looking, and now I'm looking directly into those spotlights, and I can see thick foliage, really thick, and I can see streams of the water coming down in the downpour. And it looked to me like those lights are inside the woods, inside the bushes. And my heart just froze in my chest. And again, I turned behind me somewhere, hoping my wife is there, and hoarsely whispers, throw everything away. They didn't stop, they are still following us. Throw everything away so we can move faster. And I dropped that bag from my hand. And we kept pushing on. And after some time, we realized there was nobody there. No more lights, no more voices, no more dogs barking. Just big black night. So we slow down, we huddle together, we catch our breath, and I'm thinking, we need to go to the left. We need to find that road which we left before, because I don't want to get lost somewhere in the woods and circle back to the border or something like that. So we start going to the left, and we came to the edge of the woods, and we stopped. And there is grassy opening, and there is that road. We could see that road which we left before is on the back side of this grass. And on the left side, there was a guardhouse with the flag. And I'm thinking, did we make the short circle and we are right behind the Yugoslavian guardhouse? Or did we make big circle and we are behind the Austrian guardhouse? And I'm looking at the flag displayed over there. I'm kicking myself in the butt because I didn't educate myself enough. I didn't know how each of those countries' flag looked like. I asked my wife if she knew. She didn't know either. So we still don't know if we are across the border. And as we are standing over there, I didn't want to leave the protection of the woods. I need to think about what we're going to do next. As we're standing over there, we cannot see each other, but we know what each other presents. And my wife's saying, she was saying, kids are wet, soaking wet. She says, they're going to get pneumonia. She says, I need to put dry clothes on them. Give me the bag. I says, I don't have it. She says, how come you don't have that bag? You're supposed to take it from the car. That was your job to take the bag, right? I says, yes, but I threw it away. I told you to throw everything away so we can move faster. She says, well, I didn't throw my bag away. Which was lucky. So we take that sleeping bag, lay it on the ground, strip the kids naked, and put them in it, and they fall in sleep. And now again, I'm thinking what to do next. Now this was June 21st. This is the longest day and shortest night of the year. And one thing happened when we crossed that border. The downpour stopped. It didn't fade down or slow away and disappear. It stopped. It was raining more and more and more and more until we coming to this point and we are running. It was pouring. And we crossed that border and it stopped. It was as if God turned it off because its protection was no more necessary. And immediately there were stars everywhere. We haven't seen sun for 2 days. And we crossed this border and there is just millions of stars just shining and sparkling in the skies. But at this moment, we still don't know if we are across that border or not. I guess our brains and our heart didn't catch up with each other yet. And I realized this daylight is going to start coming up pretty soon. I'm thinking, we need to get out of here. Maybe they're still looking for us. We need to get out of here as fast and as far as possible before the daylight comes. So now I'm in the hurry. I'm telling my wife, let's go. We have to go. She says, yeah, what are we going to do with the kids? I says, I'll carry them. I grabbed the bag with both kids in it, throw them over my shoulder. I couldn't believe how heavy those kids were. I play with them and throwing them up. I couldn't carry them suddenly. I am walking. We have to weigh them up. Put the wet, cold clothes and shoes back on them. And they were whining, but they were still not crying. We crossed the road. We crossed the grass, and we turned that road, and now we are walking away. Sun is not coming up yet, but it's starting to get a little bit light. We can see a little bit. And we can see around us. There was no town or anything. We were somewhere out in the country. But it was just beautiful. It was peaceful, and it was quiet. And as we walking on this road, on the right side suddenly there were a couple farmhouses, typical German buildings with the wood carved decorations around the roof and around the windows and doors. They have fences. There were flowers on the fences, in the trays outside the window, in the gardens. We couldn't believe how beautiful everything was. This was one of those early summer, crisp, fresh, peaceful morning. After that horrible night, it was just totally peaceful. And as we walking by one of these the farmhouses, the door opened and this old grandpa walks out, and he walks in the bar next door with the wooden milk bucket. He is going to milk his cow. And when he entered, the cow moved. And we noticed how colorful everything was. We couldn't believe the colors. And we realized for the first time in our life, we realized that we were living in colorless country. In communism, everything was gray and run down. There really were not too many colors. But we didn't know it until we saw something different. And all this peacefulness of that morning, all the colors, all the sounds, finally make us realize that we made it. That dream which I have for 10 years, I didn't really believe it's going to come through. It came. We were free for the first time in our lives. We have nothing. Everything we own was on our backs. But we were free for the first time in our lives. And our spirit were just floating in the clouds. We made it alive. And nobody was missing, and nobody was seriously hurt. And as we are walking along this road, because like I said, I know we have to find a way to the refugee camp, which we don't know where it is, how far it is, how to get there. As we walking around this road, I'm thinking what to do next. My wife, of course, because she's mother, and that's good between fathers and mothers, difference. And she's thinking about those kids. Now we can see them. Our son was wet as if you throw him in the lake, pretty much he was, and pick him up. And she says, look at those kids. They are muddy and dirty. She says, I don't know how long it's gonna take before we come somewhere when I'm gonna be able to wash their clothes. We need that clothes. I says, well, I'm sorry, I threw it away. But she kept talking about that. Look at those little kids. Look at them. They are dirty. He's muddy and all this other stuff. And all what I could do is shrug my shoulder. But she kept talking about that. And then she said, you need to go back there and find the bag, she told me. I says, you are crazy. I'm not going back there. We made it. I'm not going back there. And then I'm thinking, more I think about that, I'm thinking, yes, I need to go back. And if I'm going back, I need to go now before the sun comes up and before we get too far away from that border. I says, okay, I'm gonna go back there. She says, but you have to wait over here, I told her. And when the Austrian police come, because we see them patrolling all the time, we were hoping that Austrian police is going to come and take us to refugee camp. So I was saying, when they come, you have to explain to them somehow that I'm here too. They have to wait for me to come back, because if we get separated now, I don't know how to find you. We didn't speak German, of course, also. She says, okay, so she sits in the ditch, kids collapse on her lap, fall asleep, and now I'm going back there. And my heart is starting to race in my chest again. I'm thinking, what am I doing? I'm going back to the danger, back to the darkness, back to the dangerous government and executions. I'm thinking, how am I going to find the bag, which happened to be green color, which I drop in the middle of the night in the middle of the forest? There is no way I can find this thing. And then I'm thinking, you know what? If I come too close to the edge of those woods where we originally entered, I should be able to see the difference between those two fields and line myself approximately with the direction we were running. So I'm coming closer in that direction. And now sun is up. You can see those gold sun rays just shooting through the trees in the angle. And I got to the edge of the forest again about this far, and now I see how the border looked like. What that border was, when we were going on that grassy strip, there was hill going up about 10 feet high, down deep in the ditch full with the water, another hill, and there was the woods. So when I'm standing over here, I can see the first hill. I can even see the second hill, but I cannot see over them. They are taller than I am. But I can see the foot-beaded paths, those soldiers patrolling the borders. And in the distance, I can see that Yugoslavian border, the border house. So in order for me to see those two fields, I have to expose myself, get out of the woods, go down that first hill, wade through the water, climb that second hill, and look where those fields are. I'm thinking, you know what, I'm not going to risk this. I'm not going to risk that they arrest me now after we already made it, or shoot me. And if they do, how long is my wife going to sit in the ditch with the children in her lap before she realizes I'm not coming back? And then what she's going to do? So I'm thinking, yeah, you know, we'll find a way. We have to do without the kids close. I turn around and I'm walking away from that border for a second time. And I walk about 100 yards. And that bag was laying right in front of me. I will never forget the sight of it. It was sitting there just like this. It wasn't tipped over or anything. And in the middle of this bag, sun was shining on it, and there was a snail, about nickel-sized snail, brown snail with the cream color spider. And I can see a little tiny snail trail as he climbed that back on the side and went across that back and stopped over there. It was about 1/8 of the inch wide. And that slimy trail was sparkling and shining like band of silver in those first sun rays. And knowing that I find this bag, and knowing we made it, we make it, all that strength which I have in my body just drained from me. I want to collapse to my knees. I want to start thanking God right there. I didn't. I forced myself to grab that bag and run out there as fast as I could. About 2 days later, we end up in a refugee camp. This is the picture we found on the internet. It looks pretty odd, but it wasn't. It was old military camp, which was used now for refugees. So there was number of buildings, number of streets and avenues, fence all the way around it. Garbage everywhere. When we were in the camp, we were going through process and investigations and filling out the applications, everything else. Most people in there were single men from all different kinds of countries and world and corners, different customs, different languages, different nationalities, different religions, mostly single men. There was main building which was 4-story high when they were housing those single men. And at night we could hear them throwing the alcohol bottles out through closed windows. So it was littered with broken bottles and garbage all the way around that big building. Scary place. I wouldn't let my wife or my children farther than arm away. But there was no different choice. We have to go through it. So when we were in refugee camp, we have to write our life history and fill out the applications for United States, because I want to go to United States. I don't want to go anywhere else. That was translated and sent over to U.S. Consul in Vienna. U.S. Consul eventually called us for interview. That lasted about 45 minutes with translator, of course. And then he approved our paperwork. He figured out that we are good enough to go to America. They sent us to doctor to make sure we are all healthy, not bringing any weird diseases. But we still couldn't leave unless we have sponsor. We went through a refugee camp in 2.5 months. According to people there, it was all-time record. Nobody went through it that fast. There were people there already for 2 years. There were people who committed suicide in that refugees camp. There were people who were turning to alcoholism because people were applying for the country to go to and it got denied. So they apply again, denied, apply again, denied. So they apply for different countries. They applied for Canada, denied. Apply for Australia, denied. So every morning you wake up in the morning and every night your hope dies. So some people didn't make it. We were free, we could actually walk in and out, we can get an ID card, and I actually was even working. So we could come in and out. But you are living between the two lives. You cannot go back to your old life, because you get executed if you do. And you cannot start your new life in that refugee camp. You're spinning the wheels, you're just waiting and waiting and waiting, my paper is gonna come, and I can go and start my life. Reason why we went through it in 2.5 months, the church in town of Beach, North Dakota, they decided to sponsor family from Czechoslovakia with little children. Reason why they want family from Czechoslovakia, these two ladies were members of congregation. They were Czech descendants, they were born in America, but they still spoke fluently Czech. So they figured out somebody's going to be able to communicate with us. So pastor called the immigration office and says, we would like to sponsor family from Czechoslovakia with children. They checked computer and we came up. So unknown to us, we have sponsored before we actually before we went to U.S. Consul. So once we were approved, that everything was going really fast. This picture was for local newspaper, happened to be September 11. We arrived in the beach on September 8. So we were in America for 2 days. You can see how young we were and how little those kids were. This was our first baby steps in our new life. Life of freedom and opportunities. We made it. There were many of those who didn't. Nobody will ever find out how many people died or were arrested and died in the gulags. The communist government purposely didn't hate everything like this. It didn't exist. This didn't exist. Because according to communist, socialist propaganda is that socialism and communism is the best system in the world. That's where everybody wants to be. People are supposed to be breaking fences to get in, to live in the paradise, not dying to get out. That didn't match the picture which they were painting. So they hid this all. Nobody will ever find out. In 1989, Iron Curtain came down. A new government, not communist anymore, erected. This is the monument of communism. This is standing in Prague, in the middle of the Prague. This is wonderful structure. It represents the human being. A little bit farther, the human being is cracking and falling apart until there is nothing left. That's exactly what communists did to people. Communists didn't want people to have individual thinking. Communists want everybody to be like sheep and listen what they say and do what they say. Communists didn't want people to go to church, because if you go to church, you have hope. If you believe in God, you have hope. And of course, they were afraid of people being together, because maybe they will start plotting against them. They were very, very people who were really suspicious all the time. So they tore the churches down. So these people, not only that they lose their mind, the human beings slowly disappeared, but also those who end up in gulags and communist prison slowly faded away from their families. You know, we have the United States Constitution over here, which is our only weapon which we have to keep the government in check, to keep the government off the hand. That's why they hate it. They hate the Constitution. They want to destroy it, they want to massage it, they want to change it, they want to ignore it. They keep saying it's old, it doesn't apply anymore. Time change. No, that's our only weapon which we have. But they breaking it as much and as fast as they can. And interestingly, every article in this Constitution which give us right, I mean, we have the rights from God, those are God's given right. Our founding fathers to put it on the paper so we don't forget it and know it, understand it. But every right, from freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of carrying guns or arms, All those rights are for us to be protecting from whom? From oppressive government. And in communism, every one of those articles is highly illegal. Not only that you cannot say what you want, I mean, you could get to the prison if you just said, I disagree with this government, I don't like this government, I think this government is not good. Just this sentence, if you were overheard, and reported, you would disappear in the gulags. Not only that, but they passed the law that we can be persecuted for our thoughts. So you don't need to say anything. They can just say, hey, I know you were thinking about overthrowing the government, blow the bridge up, spy for the West, whatever. And you were arrested and persecuted if you actually did do the crime. Freedom of religion? No, they tore the churches down, so people cannot go to God. And they were teaching us in the school to ridicule, because some Catholic churches, well, they destroy other denominations, but most of the Catholic churches, they left. I think it would be really bad for them if they, around the world, if they destroy the Catholic religions also. But they were teaching us in the school to ridicule and laugh at people who wants to go to God, who wants to go to church. They were teaching us actually to be atheists and ridicule the people who believe in God. Freedom of assembly. More than 6 people together could be arrested unless it was family members. Just arrested because you have more than 6 people together. Crazy. Crazy system. Our story happened, well, 40 years ago now. We risk everything we have, including our lives, to be free in America. We left everybody we love behind to be free here. We left everything what we work for to be free and to have the opportunities which this country offered to us. We didn't want something. You know, lots of people around the world think that if you are in America, you are automatically rich. I wasn't an idiot. I know it's not true. But you know what I want? I want your life. And you might say, my life? You know, my life sucks. You know, why would you want my life? I want your option, your opportunities, your religion, everything what you have. I want that. I was very ready to risk everything to do that. And now, you know, 40-some years later, if I see the American flag, I can say, this is my flag. And when we go somewhere and they playing the Star-Spangled Banner, we can say they playing our anthem. I still have the tears in my eyes anytime I hear it, because I wasn't born here. My children were not born here. We did everything, we risked everything to be able to call this our country, our flag, our anthem. Problem is, freedom can disappear really quickly. You know, freedom is taken away from people by 2 different means. Either government is chipping it away in the small increments until there is nothing left, right? Some familiar? Or some military coup. We saw it in Cuba. We saw it in Venezuela, Chile, other countries. We saw it in Eastern Europe. In my country, I wasn't born yet when communism came in 1947, 2 years after the World War II. And Czechoslovakia was just like America, free enterprise, private ownership, capitalism, competition, people own their land, somebody owns their apartment building, somebody owns a restaurant, just like in America. And the communists came and then changed it from everything what we know into no human rights and nothing. You know how long it took? It took 1 week. 1 week. Because they were prepared, they know what to do. They trained their own government-owned or communist-owned militia. They marched into the streets. And nobody was prepared for it. And then immediately they outlawed the weapons. And you know, we talk about the weapons. We like our weapons. I have friends that are saying they will never take my weapons away. Never. I say, you are crazy. It's going to happen really easy. First they're going to pass the law and say their weapons are illegal. Then it's going to be two smiling policemen knocking on your door saying, sir, we are here to collect your guns. We know you have this and this and that. And you have two choices. Either give it to them, which most of the people does, even when they saying they will never, but they will. And those who were going to slam door in their face, at that moment they sentence themselves to death. They sign the death sentence. Because they are criminals, they break in the law, and they are armed criminals. So next thing is going to be SWAT team, kicking your door in and massacring everything what's in there. And if you shoot and keep them away for a while, they're going to have snipers sitting half-mile away from the house, and he kills you when you walk by the windows. The way the communists dealt with it, they didn't call it weapons. They didn't say, bring us your weapons, or we come to get their weapons. They says, all the weapons are illegal. No matter if it's broken piece of junk, everything is illegal. The punishment, either death, execution, or 40 years in the gulags. So the punishment was so severe that people were sneaking in the middle of the night and throwing those weapons in the lakes and creek and rivers so they cannot be seen with the weapons. People got rid of themselves because how bad the punishment was. You know how they leveled the field? Communists always talk about rich people. Rich people were enemies. Bourgeois class, they were enemies, right? Communists like everybody to be equal, right? Well, but they didn't say everybody equally poor, but they says, so they were always creating the class envy from people to the successful people. So they say one day, they says in the first week, they says, okay, the money is no good. The money is old. We're going to start printing the new currency. So if you were rich and you have $1 million, million crowns in the bank, next day you couldn't go and buy the piece of bread because there was nothing. Nobody would take that money because what they're going to do with it. So people who have money in the bank, people who have, some saving in the mattress, lots of people have nothing. They all become equal overnight. Because everybody was studying for the first low paycheck, including the business owner, including the factory owner. And those business people, they were lucky if they didn't kill them because they didn't like them, because they show already certain abilities, leadership abilities. Everybody was equally poor overnight. What's happening to our dollar now? It's getting devaluated in the heart, and they are talking about digital currency. It might happen to us also. If we allow this to happen, there is no place to go. America is the last island in the whole world when we still have some freedoms. Even Canada and Australia are a lot more socialist than we are, and they are probably closest to us. If we lose the freedom in America, we have no place to go. We cannot move to somewhere else to be free because there isn't anywhere else. Like I said, our story happened so many years ago. This is our daughter. She is grown up. She graduated from college with degree in graphic design. She has 6 children. Our son joined United States Marines after he finished the high school, and he was sent over to Iraqi war 1 month before the war started. And they were in the Camp Matilda, which was just camp tent city built in the deserts of Kuwait, 1 mile from Iraqi border. And when the order came to march on the Baghdad, he was on very tip of Marine column. We were scared, of course. We didn't know what these guys are marching into. We are scared and worried. But at the same time, he pretty much closed the circle of our defection. He somehow gave it more meaning by serving this wonderful country of ours. He is home safe. He owns his own business now. I wrote the book. People were telling me for 20 years, you need to write the book. I says, how am I going to write the book when I don't even speak proper English? And then a friend of ours says, I can help you with it. So she was translating my English into better English. Not perfect English purposely, but better English. And we wrote the book. I have the books in the back. If you are interested, we sell them for $20 each, and I pay taxes on it. That book has 314 pages. The part of the story I told you, if we combine it all together, it's probably going to be 15 pages. So there is a lot more over there if you're interested. Any questions? Yes?
How come they had the border checkpoints on the road, but they didn't put fences up in the fields?
I'm sorry?
So you could walk through, or is it not, the fences aren't all in places? And maybe you don't care they didn't put fences up, so.
No, that's a good question. But I knew that this section of the border did not supposed to have fences. I don't know it for 100%, but my information, like I said, I collected picture for 10 years, that this section doesn't have any fences. Just the border guards patrolling back and forth for the food. That's why we are aiming for that section between the border crossing and the Hungarian border. Just quickly, one more thing, when we left, we were sentenced in our absence to prison, both my wife and I, not to prison, but for crime. And our crime was treason. They mark us as traitors. Just because we want to have better life. Just because we want to do what your ancestors did. Treason. They can execute you for treason. That's a high, high crime. Our parents got a letter from government saying that we both criminals, and our crime is the treason. Luckily, in 1989, the Iron Curtain came down, and new government, not communist anymore, cleared us of our so-called crime. So, believe it or not, I'm not criminal anymore. And so now we can go back and forth as we please. I am actually leaving for Czechoslovakia in July. My mom is still alive. She's going to be 97 years old, and she's not doing very good. And so we can go back and forth as we please. And sky is still limit in America. It's still true, because we did it without any government help. People in the church help us tremendously. But that's the way it used to be always. Churches help those unfortunate. Never collected unemployment, never collected food stamps, never collected anything else. No government help. And we built our lives quite successfully for coming over here with nothing, just on our own. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So the guards and the secret police that would come after you, were they Russian? Were they from another country? Or did they get people in your country to turn against them?
Well, no, everybody was from our country. Those people who were informants, and just give you idea, the group of the people which we have over here, this is kind of small group, so probably one or maybe even two of us would be informant for secret police. And nobody would know who they are, and they wouldn't know each other also. It could be your husband, wife, it could be your friend, it could be your neighbor sitting across next to you. And they were informing on you. And if secret police decided that now you're going to be watched closer, now you're going to be arrested. I give you an idea. My dad was working with co-worker, and his son-in-law, the co-worker's son-in-law, one time was walking, they were living in Prague. And they were walking, he took the new baby, which they have newborn baby, and he took it in the stroller along the Vltava River for Sunday stroll. He didn't come back. His wife got a phone call, and they told her to come to the police station. So she came to a certain police station, they told her, and they are handing her a baby. She says, why are you giving me my baby? Where is my husband? They says, take your baby and go home. She says, what happened? Did he fall in the river? Did he got hit? What happened? Is he alive? What happened? They says, no questions. Take your baby and go. So she saw, now she started thinking, because something might be awkward. So she says, well, I am not leaving until you tell me what happened to my husband. They says, you better go right now, or we're going to take your baby away. And we're going to raise it in institutions. So she walked. She walked home. They were sending letters. They were making phone calls. They were questioned. They did not find what happened to her husband at all. 2.5 years later, suddenly he come home. He was locked up that whole time. They arrested him. There was no jury, no accusation. They just locked him up. And when he was saying, well, I'm here, I didn't do anything, they says, if you did something, you would be executed by now. Pretty much telling him, you better shut up. and be quiet or you're gonna be executed. And 2.5 years later, they just decided they're gonna let him go. I don't know if there was something, if they want to scare that family, scare neighbor. Nobody know what their thinking was. It's crazy. It's crazy system. That's what's happening. You could be arrested. That's why when we see police car, that's why we get scared, because you don't know if they're coming for you. They can walk on the sidewalk and take you, throw you in the car and drive away. We were always living in the fear. Yes.
So I think, sir, you said 83 is when you made your escape, and then the wall came down in 89. Communism, did it crumble completely? And if so, then would you have been able to leave easier in 89? Or, I was just wondering how much changed when that
Yes.
wall came down in communism?
After the communism, with new government, yes, people can leave. People can get tourist visa and come to America anytime they please like it. Problem is, when we escape, we got political asylum. There was either religion asylum or political asylum, or they didn't give you asylum. And that was applying for asylum with Austrian government. And if you got asylum from Austrian government, you could actually stay over there if you want to. You can get job, you can get work, everything else. And so people come over here, and we were here legally. Like when we arrived, we already have the Social Security cards. I mean, they were waiting for us. Social Security cards, green card, so we were here legally. We escaped illegally, but we were here legally. We could start working right away. Actually, I was showing you a picture. We came to America in September 8. September 15, I started working. I was asking everybody, I have dictionary, English Czech dictionary. I'm pointing work. And they are telling me, no, this is after Ronald Reagan was in the office for first term. Jimmy Carter destroyed the oil industry at that time, if you remember it, and interest rates and everything else. So North Dakota have just farming and oil. So oil was gone, so everybody moved away. And they were telling me, no, don't worry about that. We got no job, no work. We're gonna take care of it, take care of you and stuff. But I couldn't sit at home doing nothing. First, it's not my personality. And second, I'm thinking if I am not with the people, I'm not gonna learn to speak English. And if I don't speak English, I'm never gonna get a good job. So somebody eventually on September 15 or 13 says, yeah, I know this pig farmer, and he's looking for farm help. So I start working for $3.35 an hour on the pig farm. I was working 9 hours a day, 6 days a week, just to generate enough income to support my family. But I was looking for a better job. And 3 months later, I found different jobs. So I give my 2 weeks notice and start working for $4 an hour. But I was looking for a better job. And anytime I find it, I give my notice and start working for another job. That's how we built our lives. And eventually you're learning in English. Now you can communicate, so you can get better job just because of that. So that's how we did it. Like I said, sky is the limit. When I do speak in the schools and stuff, I am telling kids, sky is the limit. Nobody's gonna stop you and say, okay, you are as far as you can go. That's it. You wanna be firefighter, you wanna be doctor, you wanna be teacher. You want to be something, go after your dream. It's still possible in America. How much longer? I don't know. But it's still possible. When we escaped, it took us a while to start trusting people. Because in communism, you don't trust anybody. If somebody come, only people who know each other are talking to each other. If I'm standing here and one of you comes and start talking to me, you back out and you walk away because you are afraid that might be undercover secret agent, and he's trying to get you into trouble just to, lead you into something. So it took me a while before I lost that feeling, and I felt free. And guess what? That feeling is coming back. Because that black cloud, that darkness which was constantly hanging over our heads, has moved over here. It came across the Atlantic Ocean. And it's here now. When I start speaking in 2010. When I start speaking, I'm saying, that cloud is coming over here. It's coming over here. No, it's here. It's here. And I don't want to go into politics because, Susan asked me to come over here and tell the story. But, You know what happened on the persecution which happened on January 6? Those people, those are political persecutions. Those people are arrested and still in the prison, and some of them gonna be for another 15 years in the prison just because government decided they are not safe. What happened last week with Donald Trump, I tell you what, I heard that I couldn't sleep all night. All night I was up and I'm saying, this is it, this is it. We just fell over the edge. From now on, they believe and they're gonna have all power to persecute anybody who is standing against them. From, like I says, other political parties, communists outlawed other political parties. We crossed the big line last week, big line. And there is nothing but political persecution. Because they don't like his politics. They don't like, even those are American politics. They don't like what he stands for. They don't like that people are following him. That's what they like least. I am really, really scared now. Because I know how it looks like when it gets there. And we are getting really close. Any more questions? If not, I'm gonna be in the back for a while. I came from Rapid City, South Dakota today. I'm gonna stay overnight at Susan's and Larry's, and tomorrow I'm driving back. So I'm gonna be here for a while. If you're interested in buying the book or talk to me, feel free to do that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.